Hi everyone, I'm Jess, the one that's been sending out all those emails. Welcome to the Surface Hub user group. We've got some new faces here, which is good. The community is growing and it's really awesome to see that. So I just thought I'd give a little bit of an introduction. Today we've got Denise from Generation E speaking to us about change management and the Surface Hub. And we've also got Phil from Microsoft who will be speaking to us about Surface Hub adoption. And I just thought I'd start a little bit by introducing what we at N Squared are doing as part of the Surface Hub. So we put together this little infographic with some information about what we're doing. So we put it into a kind of a little timeline. So first you order your hub. Successful, and you've got it. You've got this beautiful piece of technology. And then deliver it. So one of the challenges that we faced when getting the hub into our space was maneuvering it around, getting it into the lift. Luckily we had a goods lift, luckily. But some locations don't have a goods lift, so it's really hard to get this in. So we thought, why not build a hub stand which helps you with that. It rotates 360 degrees, it maneuvers, it tilts. And we do actually have one in our office at the moment, so if you are interested in the hub stand, please talk to Charlie, who's standing at the back there.
Waving.
Yeah. And we can definitely organise for you guys to come down for a demo to our studio and see how it all works. Next in the timeline is receiving your hub and learning about it. And that's where we can help you with training, how to talk to your tech team, what questions to ask your tech team, because that seems to be the missing link. Like what is the admin credentials? How do I get apps onto the hub? All that kind of detail. So we can help you along the way with that. Another step is accessing your files. So one of the things that we struggled with, again, is multiple people accessing their files on the hub at the same time in the same session. So we built an application called N Squared Documents, which allows multiple people using NFC tags to log into Surface Hub at the same time. So you can toggle between users and bring up your SharePoint, OneDrive, Dropbox accounts. And you can also copy between accounts as well, so it gives you that kind of freedom. Next step is content at a glance. So this is something that we're slowly discovering, but we built a bit of a prototype it's kind of a dashboard that displays important information that you might have. So it has the news, a news feed running, it's got the weather, the time, and all that kind of things. And you can also display content that's relevant to your company on it as well. So it's kind of content at a glance, really. And then the next thing is a health check. So of course we definitely provide support for the hub if you do go with us with any of these options. So we're always there to kind of help. If something's wrong, we'll support you with it in anything. Right, so that's basically what we're doing with the Surface Hub at N Squared. Please feel free to come and have a chat with either myself, Jackie, or Charlie at the back there, sorry. So yeah, we'll be happy to invite you guys over, show you our hub, and yeah, go from there. Right, and now I'll pass to Denise. Thank you. Thank you. I'll give you this mic.
I don't know what to do on it. What do I do? I'll just clip it onto something.
Okay. Here you are.
Okay.
Right, perfect. Great.
Thanks for coming. My name is Denise Milnes. I am the change practice lead at Generation E, and I'll be talking to you about change management around Microsoft Surface Hub today. I'd like to start off with a question. Who here would like to share the reason why you bought Microsoft Surface Hub? What's the reason for buying it?
Because it's cool and awesome.
Okay. Anyone else?
So we at Pro, we got one to help our clients experience it, to start with. It's also a great way just to, it's a great tool to use. It's big drawing format, great display. You can seamlessly go from drawing up your idea, to presenting your idea, to including someone out of the room.
So could I ask, who here is from, I guess, end users? We've got Pro V and Generation E and ICOM. I think we're probably success of resellers, integrators and stuff. But there's some places I don't know here as well. Are there who's here that are end users or customers? Are we all sort of in there for the supplier space? Or? I think we are. Yeah, pretty much. Okay.
Okay.
I guess we're end users in a way from Steelcase.
Yeah. Why did you buy it?
We didn't.
You didn't.
But we are still happy they did, because now we find that we actually do use it a lot more than we thought. We have it here as part of our creative spaces. We have a partnership with Microsoft, and I think Rowan is probably the person in our office now that has adopted this more than anyone. But we all use it, connecting over Skype. We have offices all around the world, and it's so much nicer to be able to talk to people, explain concepts, discuss plans, ideas that our customers have with our support people, our legal people, our HR people, commercial people, finance people that we have in other offices. That it used to be when we used to dial in on a conference call and talk and then go, well, let me send that to you, and then we would send the email, or have you got it yet? No, okay, well tell me when it's open. And it used to be like that, not very long ago. Now we log on to the Surface Hub, we connect over Skype, we talk to them and we say, so this is what the customer wants, we're drawing on it, we're explaining things, the engineers are going, okay, no, you can't do that, don't do that, this is how it's done. And we know right there and then, not, I'll send that to you tomorrow and then you can present it. So we're finding things are happening much, much quicker, and we feel the understanding, the communication is so much better just internally in our company when we're working. So yeah, I don't think we could do without it now. Now that we've been, exposed to it and we know a different way of working with it, communicating, it's fantastic. It's great.
Yeah.
It's like case study right there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great answer. Thanks, Jenny. Thank you. So typically, a new technology is brought into an organization to improve efficiencies, increase productivity, and reduce costs. But what would happen if nobody used Surface Hub? If nobody taught you how to use it? Any ideas? What would happen?
They won't buy anymore.
Okay, so with technology solutions such as the beautiful Microsoft Surface Hub, this will only come to life once our people start using it. And customers who realize the benefits of technologies such as Surface Hub are the ones who choose to invest in the people side of change as well, who choose to invest exploring how they could help their employees adopt the solution and use it. What are the use cases that are applicable to their different segments of users, for example? In another way, our people are the engines for change. They are the building blocks of successful change, whatever change we are bringing into our organizations. And adoption doesn't happen by itself. It needs change management. Change management drives adoption. And adoption, a faster adoption, means a higher and a quicker return on investment for our organizations. So what is change management? Everybody talks about change management. Change management is a structured approach, a structured methodology that takes us from a current state into our desired future state. Now, there is a transition state in between, which is managing the people side. If we ignore the people side of change, or if we poorly manage people side of change, what happens is we expose ourselves to take on more costs and risks. So from that angle, we could look at change management as a risk mitigation technique or a cost avoidance technique. For our people to be able to move from our current state, embrace Surface Hub, and in the future state start using it in their day-to-day work, they need to be ready to adopt the new way of working. They need to be willing to use Surface Hub, and they need to be able to use it. Now, change management helps us do all those things and help our users in the journey of adoption.
I think to add to that as well, that talks about that technical stream as well, and I think we've discussed it, but I think one thing what we've found with driving adoption as well, there's lots of learnings that I think we, as a community, we've all gathered in deploying Surface Hubs and learning different tips and tricks of how to get it updated and deployed and connected to the mains and proxies and all sort of stuff as well. So that it's kind of important to call out that that technical stream is an important dependency on the change management and adoption. Because if we can't get that right, we're not going to achieve adoption. So yeah, there's this very strong relationship there by that technical excellence, getting it right. Because no matter how many times we get people to use it, if it keeps failing, then it's never going to get taken right.
Yeah, so technical side and people side go hand in hand. We deploy and install and then help the people actually learn how to use it as well. So if we don't actually address the people side of change correctly or enough in the transition state, our desired future state will have lots of gaps and holes in it, and will not be realizing all the benefits we set out to achieve whilst we were making the decision to buy Surface Hub. So there are a few companies, in the last 10 to 15 years, there have been a lot of data available for companies to research on the effectiveness of change management. McKinsey has been doing it, PricewaterhouseCoopers has been doing researches, and ProSci, the global benchmarking company that specializes in change management, they have been doing a lot of research as well, and this is actually one of their research results. What they have found is that if you apply effective change management whilst rolling out whatever technology, whatever project you're doing, you're 6 times more likely to realize the benefits. And here are some different nods. Poor change management applied, fair, good, and excellent. Even if you applied poor change management, you're better off by 15%. What we are looking at now is a typical landscape of adopters within an organization. We have a tiny amount of innovators. These are the ones waiting there. What's going to come out in the market? How can we get our hands onto that? How can we make the most of that? And now we have a small segment here who are the early adopters. As soon as you buy something, they are there playing with it, experimenting with it, trying to get the most out of it and thinking, oh, what else could we do with this? But all these 3 segments make up 75 to 80% of users in organizations. And they need help to be brought along on the journey. And we address that segment by effective change management.
So can I just ask a question then to the whole audience?
Sure.
I know if you're looking at this from a customer perspective, you know, you've got that timeline for a customer, but if you think of the market as a whole, where are we on this graph?
That's an awesome question.
So we've got a couple of different partners in here, so it'd be interesting to hear. Nathan, where do you think is the market as a whole for Surface Hub in Australia where we are?
I think we've crossed a chasm. We're finding real tangible use cases now, and again, the earlier deployments were sort of pilots and people sort of feeling themselves, feeling their way out how they're going to use this and what the scenarios are. But now we're starting to see the repeat business because they're actually finding value in it. So yeah, I think we're sort of across that chasm and getting sort of moving towards early majority.
Okay, what do you guys think? So you guys probably be.
Yeah, so somewhere in early adopters as a market, different companies vary wildly. Some companies have jumped in both feet, and they've got the majority of their people using it. There's not many of them.
Did they apply a change management model to do it in in a very specific way, or are they just kind of going ad hoc at it?
There was support throughout the process, but it was also something that people wanted. So it was a company that was more progressive than the norm anyway.
Justin?
I sort of tend to agree with Nate. I think we're over the hump just, and we're seeing, like most customers we speak to, obviously seen a hub, played with a hub, and either want it or have some questions about it.
Okay.
So yeah.
So just based on the fact that everybody thinks about here, I'm not going to ask you what you need from Microsoft right now, but have a think, because Mel's in the room here, right? Have a think about what you guys need from us to help go up to the early majority. Sorry.
Yep, that's okay. Yeah. So these guys here, up to 80% of our end users, they will need change management, active change management. It just doesn't happen for them magically, unlike this group. At Generation E, we have let me start by saying Microsoft has embraced the ProSci change management methodology, and at Generation E we have our own change management methodology, which is 100% aligned to ProSci. And we have 3 phases, which is envision, enable, and embrace. This might sound familiar. What we tend to do here is we ask the question why, how we started this session. Why did you buy Surface Hub? What do you want to get out of it? What does your stakeholder map look like? How many different user groups do you have? What do they want to get out of using Surface Hub separately? And how can we make that happen for them? What's in it for those different groups? And then,
what's the common answer? When you ask that question to customers, what do you tell them?
For example, you've had some experiences with architects.
Yeah, I think sometimes when we start that conversation, a lot of the business doesn't necessarily know what it is. So a lot of the envision phase is actually showing them what the possibilities are and inspiring them to think about what they could do with it. But I guess the common theme generally is around digital workflows. So we see a lot of activity in the construction engineering industry, because a lot of them are trying to move from printing big A0 plans and stuff and doing physical markup and stuff to moving to a complete digital workflow where they don't have to print out PDFs or work on a small screen and loop in and whatever. So that they're actually looking to use these or using Revit to take customers through 3D models in an interactive way. So that digital workflow of annotating and manipulating documents is one fairly common thing.
But from on the flip side, we're also seeing some customers want to buy it for a cool factor.
Yeah, but that's what worries me, Sean.
And that's a problem, right? So those are the guys who say, don't buy it, because
I mean, that's the issue I face all the time when they bought it to the cool factor and can't get it working and refused any partner help.
It's an expensive accessory.
They come to me and Mel.
Yeah, well, there's 2 things you touched on there. So there's maybe they can't get it working because they thought they could do it themselves, and it's not necessarily as easy as it appears.
And or they've shopped at the price range and just bought it as a box element.
Yeah.
RTFM, right?
Yeah.
But they don't do that.
Yeah. So we look into their use cases after we have an overview of what Surface Hub can do. They then get thinking about, oh, how can I apply this into my day-to-day work life and make it useful for myself, make life easier for myself using the Surface Hub. So we identify use cases. And then we work on a few plans, which again aligns with ProSci, a communication plan, a training plan, a sponsor roadmap. We need visible sponsors at an executive level to go and talk positively about Surface Hub. We need them to be our advocates. It could be a little paragraph in a newsletter saying, hey, we bought this, have you noticed it in the meeting room? This is how it works. And pop in for a lunch and learn session, for example. And then we also identify some shadow leaders in the organization who are influential, who've been there for a long time, although they may not be at the executive level. They are still trusted. And then we have a look at coaching plans, for example. We work with the middle managers to help them craft a coaching plan on how they can help their own direct reports to bring them along onto the journey. And resistance. Are we going to have any pain points? Are there techno freaks out there? How are we going to help them? And when we talk about resistance, we can look at proactive, the things that we know that are coming our way, and the reactive ones. We're going to have to firefight those reactive ones. And all this planning really helps us see how long we're going to take, and helps us to be patient with ourselves as well as applying a methodological, structural technique. So there are 3 critical success factors when we are rolling out a new technology. Speed. How quickly can we get our people up and running on Microsoft Surface Hub? Utilization. How many of our employees will use Microsoft Surface Hub and how often? Proficiency. How well are we going to use it? Are we going to know? Does everybody need to know all of the features and functionality? Do we want them to? How well are we going to use it? When someone has something failing on Surface Hub, when they make an error, when they are having trouble, how are we going to support them? How are we going to set up that support infrastructure to make this work well for us? So we investigate all of these things.
So just on utilisation, I think it's a question to measure usage through OMS or maybe Skype monitoring and stuff as well. But I think one of the things that we feel is a lot of the customers that aren't buying them off their self-install or whatever is that it's not often configured.
It's never configured.
And it's often only through this sort of change program that we drive and say, well, actually set up OMS so you can actually measure the utilisation of it.
Pushing it as much as I can with customers, because without a way to measure what you're using Hub for, you're never going to know what your ROI is going to be.
Yes.
How quickly you're going to get to it.
So some of the metrics we thought about were, how many meetings do I have in a week? Say I have 10 meetings. How many of them will I aim to run using the Surface Hub? How many qualifies for a Surface Hub meeting? Some metrics we can think about that are relevant to certain organizations and set KPIs on those, and then reinforce and sustain the change, keep on track, measure it every other week, measure it for a year, because what happens is you're going through the transition state, but what you're doing is building a momentum through the transition state into the desired future state, but then you're going to hit an operational productivity dip. We want to make that as small as possible with reinforcement and sustainability activities. Again, talking about sustainability, we don't want people to revert back to their old ways of working. We want to keep holding their hands, say, this is where our support materials is, this is what our support infrastructure is, and what else can we do for you? And wrapping up with one final slide. Change management is the bridge between installing the Surface Hub and realizing the benefits that you prioritized when you were making the decision to buy the Surface Hub. Change management drives adoption and usage. Adoption and usage drives value realized. Value realized will drive your success. And change management is the critical ingredient that helps you optimize the business results and also enable the return on investment. Any questions?
Yes, how many times have you implemented this customer successfully?
Yes. Yeah, it's been evolving, I guess, over the last year or so. So initially we were just doing small training sessions and stuff, but we were developing this offering and evolving. So again, we've got a few customers now, we're taking them through that journey.
Right, and what's the benefit to you as a partner doing this?
I think, well, one of it is increased sales, because we discover more use cases in that envision phase. That often is where we find more use cases, and, which helps them support more purchasing things. So that's kind of one of the big ones. But it's also other value adds around that. We still have customers that say, yeah, we'll buy one, and then they come back and say, oh, what's Skype?
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of
Yeah.
opportunity there as well.
Driving off the streets, consumption.
Yeah. So it drives the services that it's dependent on, but it's sometimes not entirely clear to customers.
It leads to you becoming a trusted partner in the
Yeah.
organisation.
Yeah.
It provides more value to the customer. It lets them get a better return on investment, lets them get more out of their purchase.
So the
Yeah,
reason I
but
asked
Paul's
the question,
question is, what's the value to us?
correct.
Well, they'll come back.
Specifically, the value to us is the amount of pull-through business we're getting
Yeah.
after they made the decision to procure.
Yeah.
Pull-through business that they potentially didn't know they required upfront when they made the procurement.
Yeah.
How do I manage these devices? How do I update them? How do I track them, etc.? So other Office 365 workloads become a pull-through as well.
So the flip side of identifying use cases is identifying use cases not to use it for, because we see a lot of that as well, right? So, but that's a different opportunity for us, whether it's SRS or whatever. There's other opportunities and it pulls through, but that's an important part of the use case.
Also helps us position ourselves as the change experts in this space as well.
The reason I asked the question is because everybody knows I've been on the journey from the very beginning. And initially the criticism for was, there's no margin in the device, right? It's the capital expenditure is very high, and there's not much that comes back to the partner. But this is the goal, right? This is the goal that you want, because it drives a long-term relationship over the course of the depreciation cycle. 5 to 7 years, this is the critical piece, which you can derive revenue from, consumption, services, and a whole bunch of stuff. Now, can this service be purchased by other partners who are maybe not so proficient in being able to do this from Generation E?
As a change piece, yes. As an adoption piece, yes.
Well, I mean, you've got perfectly valid for you to voice that.
What we do, there is, I guess, more traditional audio-visual companies that will come to us to partner with us on this, because they perhaps don't have the expertise in Office 365 that we do, and they perhaps don't understand change management in the depth that we do. So they're seeking to complement what they do and provide more value to their customers by partnering with us.
And there's quite a few
it's happening already.
AD partners on our list that could really do with some help. Not necessarily saying pro AD, but other unmanaged partners, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, there is, it's happening already. And they're not necessarily small, some of them are big AV companies.
Right.
So the truth is, if I sell that, I make relatively low margin, but if I then get the setup, I charge for that, make it work on Skype for Business, charge for that, and then do the training, we have a training course as well. I actually make 10 times as much margin than I do on that.
It's the ideation as well. Like we know what the sort of basic use cases are, but then when you go through training users or you do that sort of passive methodology, is there an app that we need to develop? Because as soon as you get into app development, you're talking decent money.
Well, we usually ask them why they want to do it first to make the training independent.
It's an evolutionary journey.
Yeah, sure.
You can't run before you can walk. So it takes a bit of time, but we're learning as much as everybody else. We don't have all the answers, personally. Much as I'd like to think we do, we don't.
Interestingly, I saw one the other day where one of a lady works there moved from somewhere else, and she'd been using the Surface Hub there, and she arrived in Newcastle. You've got to have this thing; it works fantastically. It's kind of an interesting way to have it happen.
It's interesting at the level of stickiness is unparalleled. So, am I up now? Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks to
Thanks, Dave. That's great.
Very interesting discussion. Now, before I go anywhere, does everybody not know who I am? Surface Hub guy, TBB. Oh, I don't need that. I think it's working. Is it working anyway?
To the video.
Yeah,
Oh, you want to?
It's still functioning on the cell phone.
Alright, so before I do anything, whose laptop is this? Look, glad we got that sorted. Okay, so it's very interesting that we should be having a discussion on Surface Hub adoption, because I have just finished, after 3 months' work, writing a white paper on the topic of Surface Hub adoption. And since there are all partners in the room,
so you're going to scrap it now?
no, I'm not going to scrap it. I'm going to ask you guys how you might want to use this. I'm going to bring it up so you can have a look at it. It's a PDF document, but it's about 50 pages or so. It's not small, but it's very detailed.
Find my USB key. Where is it? Here it is. We'll open it up in Drawboard.
I'm happy to distribute this to you guys if you think you can use it to generate some interest around your offerings. But I've taken some time to actually write a proper white paper based on my knowledge and experience of everything that I've seen amongst the customers and partners, and even at Microsoft in the last, say, 18 months.
And no one else, even amongst the GBB team, have done this, right? And I thought there was a definite gap, because for me, if we go back to looking at the Geoffrey Moore's crossing the chasm picture, like, because we have just crossed the chasm, we see customers all the time buying Surface Hubs, and then I go ask them what they bought it for, and they say, I don't know, it just looks cool, right? So there needs to be some official guidance, if we can call it that, from Microsoft. I don't think we've got anything official from our business group, so I put this together, right? It's very simple. It's just it's a description of the Surface Hub's design principles, the 3 design principles that we really decided to develop Surface Hub against, which is simplicity, security, and cloud first, right? I don't think it's well documented around those design principles, so I put it in a document. And then basically the use cases for Surface Hub. Now, what do we use Surface Hub for? And these are 3 basic use cases: brainstorming, presentation, and collaboration in no particular order. And then I talk a bit about the advanced use cases, and then how you identify use cases, which sort of dovetails nicely into your offering, right? That whole ideation piece. And then I go, you know, things you can do, like Surface Hub awareness days, getting the executive team involved, and how it fits into the modern workplace. And I took quite a lot of content, not every piece of content, but quite a bit of information from the Steelcase report that Microsoft did together, which details around the relationship around people, technology, spaces, and culture. And I sort of wove it into this document as well. And then I've got, you know, a little about Teams, since Teams is going to be coming out soon on Surface Hub, and then all the references and glossary links. So this is a document I put together that I think you guys should be able to utilize in some way. Now, my idea for distributing this, I was wanting to do it after the meeting today, was I was going to put a post on LinkedIn pointing to a URL that would take them to a form. So they'd fill out a couple of, like, 4 questions, take 20 seconds, you know. What's your interest in Surface Hub? Are you a current customer? Are you looking to go to scale? Are you Microsoft internal? A couple other questions, and then it gets emailed to them. Okay? But I'm happy to take feedback from you guys on how you might want to use this to help your adoption story as a partner. Now, obviously, I've just sprung this on you right now. You didn't know I was doing this. But it seems quite relevant in the discussion we just had about how best we can use this for the greater good. So any thoughts initially upon the revelation of this information? I'll pick on you, Nathan, because you're closest to me. Should I just put it out there?
I understand. There is a lot of information out there, but it's not obvious to people, I guess, where to go find it. Like, there is technical articles or whatever you need to go find information. It doesn't cover everything, I'm guessing, that's in here as well.
But this is just, it's like a starting point, a guide. Like, if you've never seen a Surface Hub, why should I buy one? What can I use it for? And it takes you into some basic stuff.
Phil, I've got a suggestion for somebody that you have a conversation with on how to get it out there effectively.
Okay.
I think I'll talk to you about that afterwards.
Right.
I've got a person in mind that could, I guess, digital marketing person that could help give you guidance on the best way to do it.
I'd say in the last 4 weeks, for the customers that I've been to, the takeaway from the meeting is always they want me to send this to them.
Yeah.
Even if it's an existing customer, they still want to read it because there's still stuff they can always learn. Any ideas that you think you might want to use it for, Justin? Or ways you might want to get it out there? I mean, it's as much as yours as it is mine.
I'd have a read first, obviously, myself. It seems, the way that we do it is obviously just with visual demonstration.
Yeah.
And then obviously get the concept through them. And it's also working out with the customer, like Nathan said before, is sometimes the Surface Hub's not the best fit for that customer.
Yep.
So I think that's how we do it, but I think from a change management point of view, maybe we can use some of this information into our change management.
Yeah. I mean, you can use it. You can use it as a sales tool. I mean, really, it's a guide, right?
It's like we talked before about some of the partners that may not have the capability to implement that change. So this could be a toolkit or starter kit for them to start thinking about how they could offer that, perhaps.
I make it very clear, though, that although these are the things you need to do, that you really don't want to be doing it yourself.
Yeah.
You want to be driving it through someone who really knows what they're doing with this. Now, you're never going to get away from the big guys, you know, the big banks or wherever who want to keep this internal, and they have teams of people for adoption and change management. That they basically have them on payroll to do this stuff. You're not going to get, but there are still large companies that don't know how to do this, even though they have those resources. So sometimes I see they just want to outsource it. They don't want to do it themselves.
Those larger organisations, so we see it a lot. They've got their own communications team and their own change managers and stuff. Like, no, we've got it covered, but they don't necessarily understand change in the context of this technology. Yeah. They understand the principles of it, but there's a difference between understanding the principle of change and the structure and process of it, and then having the context and experience with this technology.
Okay.
Our experience with working with internal change teams is at a consulting level. So even they have internal change team or a communications team, they'll still need that guidance and consultancy, where they go, what questions to ask in the workshops, what information they need to get to actually come up with those plans, how they're going to roll it out, what is the best communication channel, for example, for this one to go out.
Okay. All right. I mean, I see customers who have bought a couple of hubs and are still in that proof of concept mode, right? How do you drive them to go out that into, you know, larger deployments? Because that's really what my job is all about. Thank you. That's helpful.
So one thing we were talking against Gwen today about, but I've been talking about for a while, this app discoverability is still terrible like this.
Yes, it is.
There is no way to easily discover those apps that might actually drive more adoption.
Yeah.
And it's still not addressed.
Yeah. Okay. We know about that. Yeah. I'm still sort of tasked with putting my app list together, which I haven't updated for a long time. But Mel's very familiar. I mean, this to me, like, is the absolute critical piece for hub success from this point forward with all customers. We must have a better understanding about how we're going to do the adoption piece for the customer and how they're going to successfully adopt hub so that it becomes so sticky that we don't want to give it away and we all can make some coin off it. How do you think you guys might be able to use this, or do you have some suggestions for me?
Before I answer, who did you have in mind when you wrote it? Is it aimed at...
I had three audiences in mind.
Yep.
Current customers that are in that proof of concept stage and don't know how to get out that into the wider world.
Yep.
And customers, potential customers that never even bought Surface Hub but may have seen it at a trade show. And you know, it's a great whiteboard. What else can it do? I don't know.
Yep.
And also, subliminally for our own internal Microsoft use, because in order for me to drive hub sales, Microsoft have to start using our hubs internally more effective as well. We're no different to any other company, right? And so one of my goals, or maybe it's not published, is well, I mean, I'm the one that's driving this, but I wanted our guys in a modern workplace, our modern workplace team, the guys that drive office consumption, that is their job, for them to understand how they can use Hub to sell their workloads. Because if they get workloads and Hub that come together, it means more Hub sales.
Okay. From my experience, when a customer gets a Hub and they start using it, and there's no glitches or they haven't set up something in their setup process right, they love it. And they often want to extend, and then it just depends on if there's that plan in place for them, if they're going there, and if it's suitable to their next room. Where people really stop and look at other options is where they've been in, they've seen it, they've played with it, they've gone, yep, love this. Their IT team's got a hold of it, set it up and gone wrong.
Yeah.
And they go in and there's no directory and he calls John and there is no John.
Yeah.
Why is there no John? It's not calling John. They go,
Okay.
What's wrong with this thing? There's nothing wrong with the thing. You just need to get it set up.
Yeah. I've addressed actually quite a lot of that in the document as well. So what did Jessica, do we have everybody's email address here? So what I'll do then is I'll email it out to everybody. Okay, and you can have a read of it. If you like it, you like it, fingers crossed. If you don't like it, then you're sure to provide me with some feedback and I'll change some parts if need be. And then you can think about how you want to use it. But I'm going to get it into your hands, you can have a read and you can see whether it's applicable or not.
Just on it, so do you have, like you said that's like 58 odd pages.
50 pages.
50 pages. Do you have like the PowerPoint sales version of that references sections?
That was my second question.
Because I suppose I'm looking at that without reading it, going, that's going to be perfect for after sale.
Yeah.
Like, as in, you've got the guy that's come in, saw the device, played with it, touched it, bought it, gone back to his IT team. I bought one, you go sort it out.
I guess you've just defined another body of work for Phil. Look, it's my intention, right, to present this ready. Because this year, the Microsoft's Worldwide Partner event and our own internal sales kickoff is combining into one event. Right. So I've already put in to say this topic of a Surface Hub adoption is something I want to talk about at Ready. And the whole one of the reasons, there's lots of reasons, but creating this to show that it's real, that somebody actually wants to talk about this internal at Microsoft. The next stage is I have to put a slide deck around the content in here so I've got something to present. I should do it sooner because you're asking for it. I'll do it sooner. And then you'll have both pieces.
Just because I don't think we could use that as a sales tool.
No, it's something that you want the person that it's got pictures. It's like you want the decision maker to find it and read it and go, yeah, you know what, that makes sense. Who can I go talk to about this? And then they go call a partner. Sorry? I'll feel the fibre of your fabric later. Okay, so let's jump in. I've got a couple of, obviously the adoption piece came up, so I had the document. I thought it was useful to present it. I'll probably get more technical. I'm going to talk about pinning applications to the home screen, which is pretty topical at the moment because we've got the capability. I'm going to talk a bit about the Windows Insider program and the things that are coming, the bug fixes, the feature releases and Teams that's coming. And I can't, if we've got time, talk a bit about the whiteboard roadmap and the back-end architecture that supports it. I don't think it's widely known, so if you want me to talk about that, I can. It's all dependent on time. Let's see how far we get. No. Where did I put it? Pinning, here we are. Okay. Up, did it not open? Yeah, it is on me. Alright, yeah, I'm not going to go through this, you know all this stuff, right? So, we get a lot of requests now, and this goes back to the adoption piece as well. You don't want users necessarily to have to be jumping through lots of different menu options to find the applications they really want to use. And then it's a long requested feature request, you can say that, that we add the ability to be able to pin applications to the home screen. So I'm going to take you through how you do this. And this is based on a blog written by one of my cohorts called Yoav Barsley, who's based in Ireland. So basically I thought I'd just plagiarize it and use it as much as I could. So a couple of things before we start. The hub only supports UWP applications, right? Which I'm sure we all know. We cannot pin desktop applications to the start menu because you can't load them on hub. You can definitely pin websites if you've got a particular website you like. Maybe it's an internal intranet page. You can have that pinned, no problem. And it can be configured with a 6x6 grid, a tile grid. You can't change any of the default apps. If you remember the start menu, you've got the Skype, Whiteboard, and the Connect app. You can't change that, as well as the calendar. Right? It has to all be below that. So when we're thinking about the grid, this is the grid layout. This is the 8x8 grid. In the Surface Hub, the 6x6 is what's going to be visible. Which is, here's a representation of what it looks like on Hub. So the way you create it, the easiest way to create it, is to edit the default XML for Surface Hub. If you can find it, I've got a link in there, you can go to, you can grab it. But if you don't want to do it that way, the methodology for doing it is this. You create a new account on a Windows 10 machine, it can be any account, and you'll see the existing and default start menu here. You'll then basically delete all the pinned apps, and then you'll start pinning the apps that you want to have on your Surface Hub. Such as, we've got Edge here, we've got the Surface Hub helper tool. Has everybody seen the Surface Hub helper tool? This was written by the GBB in France called Eric Scherzlinger, and it's an app that's available on the store, which allows you to do, you know, your Skype for Business and Exchange remote connectivity analyzers. It's basically that encapsulated in an app on the Hub. So it will check your accounts, your connectivity, the proxies you're going through. If you need to troubleshoot anything, it's a great app for troubleshooting. I'm not saying you want to pin that one to the home screen, but it's just useful to know about it. But the one that you might want to pin to the home screen is the Surface Hub Helper application. I don't know, you might not have seen it. I think I've got a picture of it. This one here. Yeah, it was a garage project internally at Microsoft for marketing. Apparently they've got lots of dollars to spend building apps, so they built this app which is a Surface Hub Tour. You guys seen this? I think you've seen it. You guys seen it? It's an app that a user can walk up to, and it takes them through visually with some nice graphics about how they can use the Hub. So it's like, you know, the tips that we have on the home screen, it's like the next version of that in a sort of more friendly, video, cartoony way. And that's maybe something you want to pin in the home screen, because users who step up to the Hub might want to see how to do something. If the app is available to them right there, it makes it easy for them to consume that content. So there's an actual, think about this, there's a tie-in between pinning an app like this to the Surface Hub and the adoption and change management piece as well. So you build out your grid structure as you want to see it on your Windows 10 device, and then you export the start menu layout using this PowerShell command. Okay, and you need to change. There's a couple options here, and here. You need to change these values to be 8. And if you're pinning a web page, you should give, for some reason it's null here. You want to give the display name of the web page an actual name. So there's some minor editing of the XML to get the best experience that you want to have on the home screen. Once you've done that, you then have to push it through Intune. That's the only way to do it. It must be pushed through Intune. The Hub is not a device that a user can step up and start changing admin settings on. So it's not included in the package file. You cannot do it from local settings. It must be pushed by Intune. So again, a customer that doesn't have Intune is going to have a problem with this. But that's the stickiness of Hub, right? Because we get them back on our ecosystem. So here's the steps you need to do. I'm not going to go through all of them, but obviously you want to add the CSP, and then you want to be quite careful about the name that you give it, so that it's identifiable to the admin, because you might be rolling out different menus to different hubs in the same organization depending on the department. HR has a bunch of apps they want to use. Sales has a bunch of apps they want to use. You don't want to give them the same stuff. You want to customize it for them. So you want to be careful to make sure that you use names that are recognizable. Once you've done that, it's pretty easy. You basically save it, and then it'll get pushed when it syncs next. And then what you'll see is a representation on the home screen of what you created on your Windows 10 device. That's the easiest way to do it. The dependencies are obviously having Intune and being able to export the XML that you can then import into Intune. But that's it.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
This is connected to the Hub. If someone signs in their details, they couldn't have a different set, could they?
No.
Had to ask.
No. Remember, it's an anonymous device, so when you're creating the applications for the home screen, you're thinking about it holistically. But it can be different, again, for different departments or different divisions. Wherever the hub's physically located, if it's in a common area, you've got to do your best guess. But at least we've been promising this in the roadmap for donkeys. It's finally here.